Welcome back to the Acceptance Project podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bryan Gross. Now, before we start today, I want to tell you something I heard from someone else, but you got to promise you won't repeat it. I'm only telling you this because I think you deserve to know what they said. Have you ever heard this opening line before? Yeah, most of us have. That's our cue to lean in and listen closely because we are about to hear the gossip. You know, gossip is one of those strange little things human beings do that somehow gets disguised as conversation. It starts in whispers over coffee, in text messages with screenshots attached like evidence in a courtroom nobody asked to attend, or in those famous words people love to use right before causing absolute chaos. Now, don't repeat this, but... And somehow, the moment someone says that, your brain already knows you're about to hear something that probably should have stayed locked in the attic. So today, I want you to settle in. Maybe grab your coffee, sweet tea, or whatever else keeps your spirit grounded these days. Sit back in your favorite chair, maybe outside under a tree, and let's spill the tea. Only today, we're not spilling it to destroy people. We're spilling it to understand why gossip spreads so easily and how we can stop becoming vehicles for harm disguised as conversation. Today we're talking about gossip. Not the harmless kind where somebody says your potato salad recipe tastes suspiciously like it came from Costco. I'm talking about the kind that damages reputations, breaks trust, isolates people, and quietly chips away at somebody's sense of belonging. The kind that makes people walk into rooms wondering who already heard the story before they arrived. But here's the thing most people never realize. Gossip not only damages the person being talked about, it eventually damages the person spreading it too. Because over time, people begin to recognize something important. If somebody constantly brings negativity into every room, eventually the room starts feeling heavy when they walk in. I think one of the reasons gossip spreads so fast is because it gives people a temporary feeling of connection. Somebody tells us something shocking, and suddenly we feel included, like we've been invited into some exclusive little club where everybody gathers around passing rumors back and forth like they're trading baseball cards or some secret recipe. But gossip rarely remains harmless, and that's the problem. Most gossip begins with assumption, jealousy, resentment, or hurt feelings that were never addressed directly. Sometimes people gossip because they want attention. Sometimes they want power. Most of the time, they want to feel closer to somebody by placing another person beneath them. Human beings have been doing this since the beginning of time. Somewhere in history, two cavemen were probably sitting around a fire saying, "You hear what Greg from Cave 3 did? Unbelievable." And what makes gossip dangerous is that it often travels faster than truth. Once something gets repeated enough times, people begin treating speculation like evidence. A story grows legs, then roller skates, and before long, people are repeating it as fact even though nobody stopped long enough to ask whether it was ever true to begin with. The sad part is, the person being discussed may never even know why people suddenly act differently around them. They just feel the distance or tension. That's why gossip is a form of bullying. Bullying isn't always yelling in hallways or somebody getting shoved into lockers like an after-school movie from the 1990s. Sometimes bullying happens quietly through exclusion, whispering, rumors, side comments, group chats, and even character assassination. At Bridging Success, our mission is to combat exactly this kind of harm. We believe acceptance is active. We believe dignity and compassion are non-negotiable, and gossip works against every single one of those values because it creates environments where people stop feeling emotionally safe. And honestly, one of the hardest lessons people learn is this. When someone constantly gossips to you, eventually you begin wondering what they say when you leave the room too. That leads me to something I really want listeners to think about today. You came to me and told me the horrible things that someone else said about me because you claimed that we are friends. But I'm more curious to know what you said to defend me, or better yet, if we're such great friends as you say, why did this person feel safe saying horrible things about me to you in the first place? That question changes everything. Because real friendship is not measured by who delivers the gossip fastest. Real friendship is measured by who protects your dignity when you're not there to protect it yourself. I once knew someone who could not survive silence. Every conversation had to include somebody else's business. They collected rumors like Jeep drivers collect those little plastic ducks. Didn't matter whether the information was accurate, didn't even matter whether someone's reputation got damaged. If there was drama, they treated it like a blue light special at Kmart. That's for those of you who remember what that was. And for a while, people gathered around them because gossip can feel entertaining in the moment. But over time, something interesting happened. People stopped trusting them. Conversations became guarded. Friendship became surface level. Nobody wanted to confide in someone who treated private pain like public entertainment. That's the hidden consequence of gossip. The person spreading it often believes they're gaining social power while actually losing credibility. Because eventually people start thinking, if they talk about everyone else this way, they probably talk about me too. Gossip damages your reputation because it tells people you cannot be trusted with emotional safety. And let's talk about the emotional damage it causes others. Some people carry rumors for years, a false accusation, an embarrassing moment repeated endlessly, a private struggle turned into community entertainment. Meanwhile, the person who started it may barely remember saying it at all. That can be heartbreaking, especially because most people are already fighting battles we can't see: anxiety, depression, family struggles, financial stress, trauma, grief, even insecurity. Then gossip enters like gasoline on a fire. Sometimes people say, well, I was just being honest. No, you weren't. Honesty without compassion becomes cruelty wearing a fake mustache trying to sneak past accountability. We have to start asking ourselves better questions. Is what I'm repeating actually true? Is what I'm repeating even necessary? Is what I'm repeating going to hurt the person I'm telling or someone else? What is the benefit of continuing to share this story? If this story were about me, would I be hurt that someone else, especially someone who says they are my friend, is telling others this story without me being present to defend myself? And if somebody is speaking negatively about someone I care about, how should I address it as a friend instead of becoming a message service for toxicity? Because carrying gossip from one person to another does not make us loyal. Sometimes it just makes us the delivery driver for emotional damage. So, how do we combat gossip? How do we stop that office gossip politics, that one friend who's always talking about everyone else? Sometimes we're left wondering, how do I combat this? Do I just ignore them? Do I just walk away? So, rule number one, refuse to become the audience. Gossip survives because people keep rewarding it with attention. Human beings are fascinating creatures. Standing there and continuing to nod, even in silence, gives that person an audience, and sometimes that's all they need to keep performing the groundbreaking story they were absolutely convinced deserved its own documentary series. You do not have to participate. Sometimes shutting gossip down is as simple as saying, maybe we should talk to them directly. Or, I don't really feel comfortable discussing somebody who isn't here. One time, the office, queen of gossip, came to my desk to tell me some breaking news about another coworker. My efforts to stop the gossip also stopped the parade float this queen was riding on. I stopped them mid-sentence and said, hey, I have an idea. Let's go to their office and find out if this is true. The queen began backtracking really fast with things like, no, I don't want to get involved. And when I said, you are already involved because you're carrying this story around the office, she turned around and went back to her desk, and her daily parade didn't stop by my office anymore. Those types of responses are what sends a clear message that you do not wish to be involved in this little game of she said, he said. And yes, sometimes people get uncomfortable when you refuse to participate. Good. Healthy boundaries often make unhealthy behavior uncomfortable. Now, step 2 for combating gossip is to defend people in rooms they're not standing in. This one matters deeply to me. Character is revealed most clearly when somebody vulnerable is absent. Anybody can be kind to people standing directly in front of them. The real test is what happens after they leave. Do you protect them? Do you redirect the conversation or challenge assumptions? Or do you remind people there may be another side of the story? During our time together each week, we talk a lot about belonging and emotional safety. Emotional safety is built when people know somebody in the room is willing to protect dignity instead of participating in humiliation. Sometimes courage looks incredibly ordinary. Sometimes courage sounds like Actually, that hasn't been my experience with them, or I think there's more to this story than we know. That matters. People remember who made them feel protected. And let's be honest, would you rather have lunch with the person who knows everyone's business and gossips constantly, or would you rather enjoy lunch with someone you know doesn't participate in gossip and is more interested in protecting their peace and just having a calm conversation? Step number 3, heal the part of yourself that enjoys tearing others down. That one's uncomfortable, isn't it? Now, you may be sitting there thinking, I don't enjoy tearing anyone down. But have you shared gossip about someone else? I've heard people say it isn't gossip if it's true. The definition of gossip is, according to Webster's, the act of sharing information, rumors, or personal details about someone who is not present, often without knowing whether the information is true, necessary, or helpful. That tears people down. Because sometimes gossip reflects unresolved insecurity. People who feel small occasionally try to shrink others to feel taller emotionally. It's like standing on a milk crate calling yourself 6'3". But healed people usually don't spend their energy destroying others. They're too busy building lives they feel proud of. Protect your peace enough that you stop feeding on negativity for entertainment. Celebrate people, encourage people, correct people privately when needed. Address conflict directly, but stop turning human beings into campfire stories for social bonding. Because every person you gossip about is somebody's child, somebody's friend, somebody's partner, somebody trying to survive life the best they can. And honestly, life is already difficult enough without becoming each other's unnecessary storms. So what should we do instead? What if we started becoming known for sharing strengths instead of scandals? Think about how much different our conversations would sound if we spent less time talking about who got divorced, who got fired, who gained weight, who made a mistake, or who embarrassed themselves, and spend more time talking about the people around us who are doing good things. The coworker who stayed late to help someone, the student who refused to quit when life kept knocking them down, the friend who quietly showed up when somebody needed support and never asked for recognition. The truth is, encouragement spreads too. In fact, I think it probably spreads faster than gossip because people are hungry for it. Most people go through their day carrying burdens nobody else can see. They're wondering if they're doing enough, if they're appreciated, if they matter. Then somebody notices their effort, thanks them for their kindness, or tells them they made a difference, and suddenly that moment sticks with them for weeks, sometimes even years. And that's the power of encouragement. Gossip makes people look over their shoulder, wondering what's being said about them. Encouragement helps people lift their head. At Bridging Success, we talk a lot about acceptance, belonging, and creating spaces where people feel valued. Every conversation gives us an opportunity to contribute to one of those things or take away from them. We can carry stories that tear people down, or we can carry stories that remind people of their own worth. Personally, I'd rather be known as someone who helped another person stand a little taller than someone who made them feel smaller. Because long after people forget the latest rumor, they'll remember how you made them feel. And to me, that's the kind of reputation worth having. As we come to the end of our time together this week, I want to say that one of the saddest realities about gossip is that many people never realize the damage they cause, because the wounds they create are invisible. A person may smile publicly while privately questioning their worth because of rumors. A student may withdraw, an employee may stop speaking up, a friend may stop trusting. A person may leave an entire community because they no longer feel emotionally safe there. Words matter. The rooms we create around people matter. And every single day we make choices about whether we are building, belonging, or contributing to harm. At Bridging Success, we believe acceptance is practiced, not presumed. That means we actively create spaces where people feel protected instead of picked apart. Imagine how different our schools, workplaces, friendships, families, and even communities could become if people spent half as much energy encouraging others as they currently spend dissecting them. That kind of culture change starts small. One conversation, one boundary, one moment where somebody decides, this stops with me. Now, I would love to hear your own thoughts on today's episode. Have you ever experienced gossip that deeply affected you? Have you ever had somebody defend you when you weren't in the room? Maybe you've learned hard lessons about trust, boundaries, or protecting your peace. Share your thoughts, your stories, or your reflections with us at brian@bridgingsuccess.com. And if today's episode spoke to you, share it with someone who may need the reminder that kindness and integrity still matter in this world. Maybe this is the message you forward to the office gossip, because sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is to help create rooms where people feel safe enough to simply be human. And just remember, gossip may give people temporary attention, but integrity gives people lasting respect. Every conversation is an opportunity either to protect somebody's dignity or to participate in tearing it apart. Be the person who makes others feel safer after they leave the room, not smaller. So until next time, take care of yourself and take care of those around you. The Acceptance Project podcast is a production of Bridging Success, LLC. To learn more about the podcast and our work, please visit bridgingsuccess.com. This podcast and its contents are for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. I'm Dr. Bryan Gross, but I'm not a licensed therapist. The topics and opinions shared by me and any guests are our own and should not replace professional or medical advice. If you're seeking mental health support, medical guidance, or help with personal matters, please reach out to a licensed professional who can provide the individual support you need.